Hi, Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Hi, I'm Dr. Nur Hidayah. So today I'll be giving an introductions about environmental microbiology. So for the introductions for the chapter 1 MIC315 is basically about the overview of this course. So this is giving you a pieces of here and there. What is it that you're going to learn or what is it that you're going to be exposed in the MIC315 courses? Environmental microbiology. So when we mention or we talk about environmental microbiology, the next question would be what is environmental microbiology, or basically what is it applied microbiology? So applied microbiology is the interactions or learning the interactions between the microorganism and as well as the rest of the world. So that will be included the genetic variances. Other than that, the effects of the microorganisms on the soil, water, and the food, because we know basically the functions or the presence of the microorganisms in every aspect of our life, and that is leading to the questions why is it is very important to understand their survival on Earth. Alright. So next is that the term basically a relationship between the microorganism and as well as the environment. The other one we call it the ecology, the microbial ecology relationship between the microorganisms and the environment. Okay, so the term that we use in this chapter, or basically in generally in the science, is that the ecosystem. So in the ecosystem, it's referring to the interactions of the living and non-living components. So it could be in the basically the ecosystem itself. It could be the oceans, alright, the forests, the lakes, and we know that in every ecosystem in the world, there are different types of the microorganisms that play a key role in the ecosystem structure. Okay, so next is that the term that we wanted to expose to you is that the microenvironments. Okay, so microenvironments is basically an environment that's surrounded by microorganisms. Why is it microorganism is there? What is the functions of the microorganisms in the environment or basically in the ecosystem? So this is the parts of that we try to expose to you. Alright, so in the microenvironment is very relevant to survival and the growth of the microorganisms. Okay, so we're talking about these two, which is the microorganisms earlier as well as the ecosystem. We know that there are actually a various types of the interactions that we call it. Okay, so it's either the interactions between the microbes and the microbes itself, so interactions with the other microbes, or interactions with the plants, interactions with the animals, or the interactions with the humans. Okay, so the one that I wanted to give basically one of the the one that we call is the microbial competition and antagonisms. Alright, so know that even though the fact is that microorganism is there, that present in the particular environment, some are actually they have to compete with each other because we know that in general that most environments suits many kinds of the microorganisms. Alright, however, they comes in a particular situation which is only once or a few can occupy the environment at the given time. So this is giving the explanations is why is it in some particular environments, some species or some microorganisms, some types of microorganisms, they have to compete to each other because the first step is that the factor they have to compete for nutrients and water. And then of course in general is that the faster, okay, the more powerful the populations of the microbes, the faster they will be produced larger populations. When they have the larger populations, in general, it leading to they have a they have a better competitions, okay, towards the nutrients and the water itself. Okay. So next is that other than antagonisms or basically they are competing towards each other, there are other terms that we wanted to call is the mutualisms, alright? Other than try to be having a healthy competitions, there are some also the microorganisms or basically in the ecosystem, they are able to live in a mutual or healthy relationship between each other. So for example, the microorganism and herbivores. Okay, so animals, they need the microorganisms to digest the plant food that they ingest. So this is basically just what we call is that the the piece of the overview that what is it that we're going to be learned in details in throughout the chapter. So sesetengah, some of the microorganisms actually they need each other. So this is like a win-win situation for each other. So that is why somehow the relationship of the mutualism is actually exists. All right. So other than that, we call it is the antagonisms among organisms. Antagonism is that basically the actions of any organism that suppress or interferes with the normal growth and the activity of the plant pathogen, such as the main parts of the bacteria or fungi. For example, they are able to produce bacteriocins. What is it, the bacteriocins? Bacteriocins is basically the protein that produced by bacteria that destroy similar strands. Okay, so some might have the relationship what we call as the competitions. Okay, some will be able to live with each other happily. Okay, right, like they're having the win-win relationships, and some, however, that undergo the process or basically the relationship of antagonisms. Okay. So environmental fluctuations are common. So however, what kinds of the actions, what kind of the response or the relationship that they are having between each other, know that this is actually common ones. Alright. So the environmental fluctuations are common and resident microorganisms may respond by either they produce the enzymes, okay, in order how to adapt themselves to the environment that changing from A to B to C. Some might be able to produce enzymes. Alright, so additionals or different types of enzyme might be necessary for the survival of the particular bacteria. Alright, some are, however, be able to mutate themselves. So this is a one good thing, or basically one special thing about microorganisms. They be able to mutate, they be able to adapt themselves to a new particular environment that they are exposed in. Alright. So other than that, in environmental microbiology or in MIC315 also at the end or basically at the back of this chapter, you will also learn about bioremediation. Okay, so it's also the use of the microorganisms, okay, to eliminate or to make harmless pollutants in environment. Okay, not only in earlier chapter that we understand the interactions between the organisms and the functions of the microorganism in ecosystems. Alright, throughout we learned about how is it the microorganism will be used for the bioremediations. So again, what is bioremediation? Is basically the process where we make use of the microorganisms to reduce or basically to eliminate the pollutants in the environment. So there are actually different types of the pollutant that exist. Alright, so some we call it the hydrocarbons, okay, organic solvents, alright, toxic chemicals, and they are actually a different types or the common types of the pollutants that are basically exposed or they are really in the environment. So towards that, okay, the idea of when they expose or basically they pour out the pollutants in the environment, that is highlights what is it the sewage treatment is necessary. So sewage treatment is basically the control process that strives to eliminate the organic material, thus emissions, okay, the biological oxygen demand. So most of the removal organic matter is done by microorganisms. Okay, throughout this chapter as well, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to cover this in the chapter 5, which is you're going to understand is that what is it the relations of the oxygen and why is it the microorganisms require the needs of oxygen, and as well why is it the numberings or basically the parameter of BOD is necessary in bioremediation. Okay, so the eliminations of organic waste, okay, materials can be enhanced by the microorganisms. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, in bioremediation, we use microorganisms to eliminate or basically to kill off, okay, to reduce the number or basically the concentrations of the pollutants. Okay, so why is it we use the microorganisms? Because we know that the fact is that the cost is high. So through the exposure of the microorganisms, that basically without the use of microorganisms, we can increase the cost to separate organic materials from inorganics. Okay, so that is why somehow in this in this pathway or in this scenario, the microorganisms are needed. Okay, because microorganisms, they have the capacity to break down the compost, alright, by undergo the process of natural decompositions of organic solids material, or to result in excellent fertilizer. So this is basically the examples of it. Okay, you can see in this figure where the microorganisms and how is it, okay, it's undergo to, it's used to needed to break down the organic materials. So whatever that I explained earlier, this is basically in introductions, or basically giving you an overview of in details throughout what is it you're going to learn in the chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5. I hope you enjoy and you will understand. If you have any further questions, okay, you might just have any discussions or let me know in the comment sections. Thank you, everyone.